Governor Bush, thank you so much for joining us.
Good to be with you.
Now, one of the main ways that the candidates are trying to distinguish themselves from each other at this point is on national security, on foreign policy. We know this issue is much bigger in the voters' minds than it had been in the past because of some of the recent happenings around the world, including terrorism and, of course, the situation with Iran. We've recently seen this prisoner swap. What's your take on the Obama administration's decision here, and how would it be different under a Bush presidency?
Well, I think Congress needs to investigate this because it does appear that the timing of the release of the $1.7 billion is directly tied to the release of Americans that were held hostage, and people that violated the law from Iran in our jails, violating our laws, were released as well. It's fishy, and it sends a signal that the United States, you could do this to us. You can hold Americans that didn't do anything hostage and get something in return. We have a student in North Korea right now that's being held, and there's no evidence that that student was doing anything wrong. And I just think we need to restore our presence in the world where people don't push us around the way they are. The sailors that were captured by the Iranian Navy, humiliated on national television, where our Secretary of State thanked the Iranian government for releasing them. They shouldn't have been taken to begin with.
Now, it seems like the Obama administration's policy with regard to ISIS specifically has been to sort of defer and delay and leave it for whoever the next administration is going to be. If that is, in fact, your administration, if you're commander-in-chief, are we going to have a large U.S. military footprint in Iraq and perhaps in Syria as well? And does some of the legacy of your family factor into your thinking about this at all, or does it not matter?
No. The legacy of my family are lessons learned for doing the right thing, in my mind. And I laid out a strategy in August prior to the attacks in San Bernardino and Paris, because it was clear then that ISIS was a threat to our national security. When you form a caliphate the size of Indiana, you got to take it seriously. And in that strategy, we called for a no-fly zone in Syria, safe zones in Syria, so that we could build a Syrian-led army with Arab support and European support, trained by American special operators. We need to directly embed our troops with the Iraqi military, arm directly the Kurds with more sophisticated weapons, re-engage with the Sunni tribal leaders that helped us create the surge that led to a fragile, secure but fragile Iraq, get the lawyers off the warfighters, and create a strategy that lead the world again. We have to rid this world of ISIS, and I think Assad needs to go as well. This administration, you're correct, their incrementalism has made it a lot harder, because now you have a Russian influence. You see Iran energized by soon to receive $100 billion plus of money to continue to support Assad, Hezbollah, rebel Shia militia.
Do you think that Putin can be worked with, or do you think that Putin needs to be hemmed in?
Putin can't be worked with. No, not from a position of weakness, at least. I think we can respect Putin. We have a shared interest in the fight against terror, but his principal objective is to reinstate Russia's influence in the Middle East. They were kicked out in 1973 by a move by Sadat, kicking them out of Egypt, and Kissinger and Nixon adroitly, diplomatically bringing Egypt into our sphere of influence. And now they're back. They're back with a military presence in Syria, air presence and naval presence. That's what they want. That's their objective. It isn't to take out ISIS. Trump is totally wrong on this. All you got to do is flatter Donald Trump, apparently, and he just folds like a cheap suit.
Well, I guess we have to ask you one quick one about Trump. Why is it at this point, do you think, that you often talk about how you are a conservative, perhaps even in your mind, the conservative in the race?
Yeah.
People try to position you often in the media as the ultimate establishment candidate. What's your response?
Here's
to that
what I am. My entire adult life, I've fought for conservative principles, and I was the most transformational, reform-minded conservative governor in the country. I've not just talked about it, I've acted on my conservative beliefs. Trump's not a conservative. And at the end of the day, if we nominate a non-conservative to lead the charge for the Conservative Party, it'll be a disaster. That's what I believe. And I believe Americans will take note of that, and particularly here in New Hampshire, where they take pride in the fact that they're first in the nation in their primary.
All right. Governor Bush, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.